Well, last week we started a conversation raising awareness on the month of Diabetes Awareness Month. Yeah, of course, this month. And we started last week and we continue this week. And I have with me, of course, my very dear friend, Dr. Sonia Nixon. She's with me. And also a very special guest. I think it is the first time on the program, Miss Leah Charles. She's from the Food and Nutrition Council, and I think based at the General Hospital. So it is a real pleasure. Tonight we're talking about diabetes, of course, always in the context of COVID-19. We'll be looking at nutrition and also self-care. So Ms. Charles will assist us in the area of nutrition, and Dr. Nixon is going to talk about self-care. Of course, they're both very close related, and so we'll find a nice mix here this evening. We will be taking your telephone calls, of course, your questions, your comments. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Ms. Charles, good evening and welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you, and we're looking forward to having a wonderful discussion with you this evening.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, wonderful. Doc, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Grenada. And I hope you explain to people what it means that I'm with you.
You're always with you're always with me.
In your heart. Good evening. It's really a pleasure to be here again on, especially this month, Diabetes Awareness Month. Notice I'm wearing my diabetes colors like you. We're good on that.
Yes.
So it's really a pleasure being here. So good evening, Grenada.
Yes, indeed. So, Doc, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to come to Ms. Charles in a moment. This month, Diabetes Awareness Month, there is so much involved because diabetes, it is very much, should I say, embedded in our society. We've got lots of diabetics. Prevalent. That's a better word. Prevalent.
There's a lot of it existing over a period.
Right. Wonderful. There we go. So we're going to talk about that. So, Doc, the issue of self-care, the importance of people taking.
Before we go that far, can we talk about again? I think we have to remind people about the fundamentals of diabetes so that they can understand why it is so important that you do the things that you do.
Okay, lovely. Yes. So diabetes, let's talk about that. Set the stage for our discussion.
Yes. So diabetes is a disease that can be preventable. Okay, it's known, it's considered one of the chronic diseases because it can last with you for a very long time. It can deteriorate into a very complicated situation. It requires changes in lifestyle to get you back to a stage of wellness. But diabetes is basically related to how we allow, and I'm going to say allow, in inverted commas, our bodies to use what we consume as food. And I know I'm not a nutritionist, so I'll let Ms. Charles talk about it when it comes to that. But it has to do with our use of food for energy, okay? And how we can put our normal regulating system out of control. So instead of what we consume being used for energy to get you to walk to work, to sit at the computer and do your work, to exercise, whatever activities you're doing, get your brain to work, we have excessive quantities of glucose, which is our currency that is used for energy, right? Existing in our blood, and our inability to remove that excess of glucose out of our blood into storage if we don't use it, okay? And so you have that perpetuation of blood, that sugar, that high level of sugar. People say you're sugar high. I have sugar. Everybody has sugar. You need that so much for the work that you do. When you have that excessive amount, that is what becomes your challenge, because that excessive amount of sugar in your blood actually plays havoc on a lot of the system, your eyes, your brain, your heart, your circulation and your circulation generally, but your circulation in your foot. We know the level of amputations we have in our society, and most of the people where they lose a toe, two toe, half a foot, half a limb above your knee, it doesn't really matter. Most of the people who lose their limbs are as a result of poorly controlled glucose or poorly controlled diabetes, as we call it. And then, of course, there's a problem with the kidney, and we all know the issue with needing dialysis to manage your sugar, to manage your kidney function. And dialysis is an expensive thing. We talk about it loosely, but I don't think people understand what it is. It's basically a system where you sieve, you filter out your blood to remove the impurities, because your kidney normally does that, is that treatment plant. You know, we talk about water all the time, comes into the treatment plant, and they have filtration systems and all other stuff, right? If the filtration plant has any malfunction, a lot of the silt and the impurities that come in the water will remain behind. In like fashion, if our kidneys fail to function appropriately, we will have a lot of impurities staying in the blood, and they can become poisonous toxins, which can cause us to become very ill and die. Okay, it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens over a certain period. And if your kidney gets to the point where it can't do any of the work, you may need dialysis or subsequently a kidney transplant. So it is important that we are able to understand how these things function so we can make sure it doesn't happen. Right? And the first thing towards preventing all of this is having a healthy lifestyle long before. You know, we talk about food, you talk about nutrition in our children. It's important. That's where it starts. Because I'm not going to go directly to the nutrition part, because I'm going to let Ms. Charles talk about childhood nutrition and coming up. But that's where it starts. How do we eat at home? How do parents and grandparents eat? Are we encouraging our children to do it right, so that they can, their bodies can manage the sugar, the use of sugar, the metabolism of whatever foods we take in appropriately? Are we going to allow these sugars to get higher than normal and uncontrollable? Those are the things. So you have to think about families and how families behave in relation to food. You know, the other thing we have to remember is that diabetes as a chronic disease contribute to most of the people who became very ill or who have died as a result of coronavirus.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Right. And I think just the way you came to the end, you sort of put it nicely, so we can bring in Miss Charles. Only yesterday, Miss Charles, I was talking to someone and I mentioned nutrition, and they said, "What do you mean by that? Can you tell us, when we speak of nutrition, what do we mean by that?" And then we're going into all the little details about why it is so important, as it relates to, one, preventing diabetes, and if you already have it, controlling it.
Okay, so basically, what is nutrition, right? So nutrition is basically how the body accepts and uses the food that we put in it, right? So everything that we eat, it gives our body something, right? So sometimes it can be nutritious, sometimes it may not, right? So nutrition is basically what the body uses for to nourish itself and keep it going. Now, when it comes to diabetes, there are things that we can use that can contribute to us getting diabetes later on. And if we are diabetic, there are some things that we eat that may not be so good for us, or it may contribute to the sugar being constantly high, right? So when it comes to food, we need to be careful on what we're eating, especially if we're preventing diabetes. As Dr. Nixon was saying, it starts basically from when you're young. It starts from a child. What we eat when we're growing up, what we were started with. A lot of the times as children, we start off with eating the wrong things, Sometimes we grow up eating sugar and milk, we grow up with the condensed milk and corn flakes. A lot of the times when you look at our portion sizes, we're eating a lot of the rice, a lot of the provisions, especially at lunchtime. We having rice, we having macaroni pie, we having potato salad, we having fried plantain and meat, and then the salad is just maybe like a drop or two slices of tomatoes on the side. So we've been setting up ourselves for a long time, and we have to change that. We have to change the way we eat. We have to start making better choices. We have to start eating more nutritionally dense food instead of going for the food that has actually no value to us, right? So when we speak about nutrition, we speak about eating food that is good for the body, right? So we have to ensure that we have good nutrition, eating food that is healthy for us, good for us, food that can help maintain us and keep us healthy and prevent us from getting all these non-communicable diseases, chronic communicable diseases later on in life.
Right, but someone may say, and Dr. Nixon can comment after as well. Someone may say, Ms. Charles, well, I like my pork and I like my salt fish and salt meat, and so that is all right. I mean, I can always go to the pharmacy and get some medication to control my blood pressure.
To control your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Your blood sugar.
Oh, your blood sugar. Right, yes. Uh-huh.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What we've realized is that for persons who are being diagnosed with diabetes and so forth, physicians are using another approach. They are using medications as the last resort, because we realize using your diet is better than trying to manage with your medication. Of course, some medications, if you stay on them for too long, they can have other complications leading up. So a lot of the times when you are diagnosed with diabetes, the first thing physicians would recommend is trying to work with the diet first. So they would work on stabilizing the sugar, and once that is stabilized, they work on managing the diet. And depending on how well you manage with the diet, you may be removed off the medications completely. And for persons, of course, who love their foods and love their meat and their pork and so forth, when you come to us, we try to find a way to work with you, right? So we would say, okay, I know you like this, but let's try and work around it, right? So we try to find you a substitute or an alternative so that way you wouldn't miss that so much, right? So for example, with the saltfish, we tell you, yes, we allow you to have saltfish, right? But you have to wash the salt out of there, and then you can have your saltfish. And even when it comes to things like pork and so forth, we would tell you, go ahead, have it, but you need to watch your portion. And maybe you should try preparing it this way instead of preparing it the other way, right? So we try our best to work around you, right? We try to encourage not to go the route of your medications first. Try working with the diet. It's not that hard. And I know some people see it as, Lord, diabetes, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. You can, right? That is why you speak to your nutritionist, speak to your dietitian, and we work with you, we work around you, so that way you can still enjoy your food that you love, right? Instead of having to go the route of going to the medication.
Right, and this is lovely. But someone will say, well, yes, Miss Charles, I understand. I need to use my veggies and all the good stuff to keep my blood sugar down and to keep me healthy. But they are too expensive. I can't afford it. What options do I have? Look, I'll tell you. This afternoon I went to the supermarket to get me some cabbage. There was a cabbage about the size of my fist, and it was about $6.00. Now that is expensive. Not everybody can afford that. So someone may tell you, look, it's it would cost me a lot less to probably go buy me a tray of chicken back or chicken wing or something like that, and prepare. What do you say to people like that? I mean, I understand, yes, the issue of cost and so, but what would you say to them?
Okay. In situations like that, as we tell persons, we try our best to work with you and what you can afford, right? So we if I know you cannot afford the broccoli and the cauliflower, I'm not going to tell you to go there and purchase that. I normally say work with what you can afford. and we would work around it with you. So if all you could afford to buy is maybe cucumbers and carrots, we would work with you with that, and we would show you how to prepare those things and how to keep the diet and how to manage it, right? If you can't afford the chicken breast and all you could buy is the drumettes and so forth, we work with you, right? We would not make you, as I say, put your heart where your hand can reach. We try our best to work with you. As we say, you always try to get things that are local and get things that are in season because they are cheaper in season, right? So we work with you based on the budget that you have. That is why it's always important to see your nutritionist, see a dietitian. We work with you. So you don't go around blind and saying, Lord, I can't afford this. We try our best to work with you and work with where your budget can reach.
All right. So one final question before I go to Dr. Nixon. COVID-19. One of the things we were told earlier a lot and still been told is to boost our immune system. We need to use foods that can boost our immune system, because also I think Dr. Nixon can bear me out here, many of the people we lost with COVID related deaths were people who were diabetic and had other chronic conditions. As it relates to eating foods to boost your immune system, let's talk a little bit about that.
All right. So the foods that are used to boost your immune system, you would hear during the pandemic, the doctors were saying that you need things like vitamin C, you need zinc, you need vitamin A. And these are things that you can easily get from our fruits and vegetables, especially the ones that are in season right now. For example, your guavas, right? We have West Indian cherries that is also in season. These fruits are higher in vitamin C. Then you have bananas, you have watermelon. They are available year round. They are high in potassium, they are high in zinc, and you can use these fruits to boost your metabolism, to boost your immune system, We know as a diabetic, sometimes we ask you to control the amount of food that you have because we don't want the sugar to be spiking. So we would encourage you to have your fruits as your snacks, right? So instead of having like maybe a cake or a cookie or a biscuit, have a fruit, right? Because this is where you get your energy boosting food from. And of course also your vegetables, your red bell peppers, your dark green leafy vegetables like your callaloo, your spinach, right? Okras are also very good at this time, and it helps to boost the immune system. So these are all readily available and in season currently, and you can help to use those to boost the immune system. It is recommended that we have 3 cups of fruit daily, right? And 2.5 cups of vegetables daily. Once we consume these foods daily in the required amount, then our immune system should be boosting its way up to the proper health. But a lot of the times we are lacking our fruits, and especially during the pandemic, we've seen it a lot. People, they are steaming, I'm doing the face steam, I'm putting the onions in my stock. But when you ask them, how's your diet? Are you consuming fruits? Well, is when I could get the fruit. So we have to make an effort to get more of the fruits and the vegetables in our diet. That way it can boost our immune system. And of course, it's always best to use your fruits and your vegetables that are in season because they are better for you and they are cheaper, of course.
Right. I said it was my last, but one just popped up. You spoke about ensuring that we get at least about 3 cups of vegetables and 3 cups fruits daily. So I decided, all right, I'm going to get that. Fine. I have my 3 cups of veggies and I have my 3 cups of fruits. But I like my barbecue chicken and I like my barbecue pork. But that's all right because I have my 3 cups.
Oh no.
Well, help me out here.
Okay. We still need to be careful, right? We still need to be careful there because sometimes we may be defeating the purpose of what we're doing.
Right.
So let's say, yes, we're eating the 3 cups of fruit. Yes, we're getting the 3 cups of vegetable, but yet I'm having the thing that come in the red box that we always buy in town. We're eating that every day. right? I think you get what I'm trying to say, right? There's this thing that we buy in the red box, the line always long, and we eat it, and we're eating that every day, but we're also eating the fruits, right? And then somehow we always find our way to go in this line and by the mall, also another very long line, and we're eating all of that every day. But yes, I get in my 3 cups of fruit and I get in my vegetables, and then we're also inactive. So we still kind of fighting a battle. We're still kind of defeating the purpose because we're eating terribly, and we figure because we're getting the fruits and the vegetables, that's it. No, we have to be eating properly. We have to be eating a balanced diet. A balanced diet is one that consists of all the 6 food groups that we have in the Caribbean. And we need to ensure that we're eating nutritiously. So the food that we're eating must have some sort of nutritional value to us. Because sometimes we're still drinking the Coke at lunch, we're still having the Arizona, we're still drinking all the sodas and so forth that is filled with sugar, right? And then be thinking that we're safe because yes, like eating fruits and vegetables.
Because you have your 3 cups. So it needs to be balanced, and a little later on I would like to speak with you about portioning, because I think that is also something very important that people need to understand. So Doc, I'm coming to you now. We listened quite a bit to what Ms. Charles said and the importance of the diet and balance and nutrition, all of that. Great. So let's combine that with general self-care as it relates, one, to diabetes and also to what we now face in COVID-19. I think you're still muted.
Can we separate them? Maybe we can't. And like I said, when we saw such a large percentage of the population who had COVID-19 actually, who suffered, who was sick, hospitalized, because that's who we mostly account for, right? Hospitalized or dead. God rest their souls, 200 people to date. Such a large percentage of them had diabetes. We understand that it is something, it's a comorbidity, something that would course with COVID-19 because it creates, it facilitates the presence of COVID-19. You guys spoke about whether the immune system is prepared. We talk about that virus so many times, and I almost started saying bad things about COVID-19 virus. It's really, it doesn't care. It just wants to get in there into another living organ, another living human, and just jump up and behave bad and kill if it can. That's how it is. But we've seen that a population with diabetes, especially uncontrolled diabetes, and people who had very poorly controlled diabetes, and the older population who had, deficient immune system, they're older, they're more likely to get COVID. The truth is, it is the responsibility of everyone who think they may have diabetes or not to get screened, to go look for these things to ensure that you can take control of your life. So that has to do with general self-care. If you're 25 as a young woman, you're asked to make sure you start having pap smears if you have been, actively, if you have had sexual intercourse. At 40, a woman is asked to do her mammogram, but still you're asked from 20 to start examining your breast for breast cancers. So that's whole part of caring, putting yourself in a situation where if you have a disease, you can identify it. Mm-hmm. But it goes beyond that. It goes to the not smoking, the not drinking. Actually, like Miss Charles has said, to not consuming a lot of the food. I'm not even talking about color box and paper bag, okay? I'm talking about, and of course every day I go into the supermarket and I see the pretty boxes, and we've talked about this, you and I. I go to the supermarket and I go to a place and I need something to drink, and all they have is colored drinks. And they have one that's fruit punch, and like, ooh, I'm gonna get a little pulp. And then I get a drink that is transparent and tell me there's a fruit punch. And it have mango, banana, those things that are transparent. I get that. How could that? Then it must be hint of mango or essence of mango, right? So just what how we consume, how we feed ourselves naturally, how we look for disease, how we prevent disease by not drinking alcohol, by exercising, by just being aware, by managing our stress, by getting enough amount of sleep. All of those things that keep our bodies healthy, by maintaining our ideal body weight, which none of us can really talk about, unfortunately. But the bottom line, maintaining our ideal body weight. But of course, checking, ensuring that I am not at risk, especially in the case of diabetes, where we know that if you had diabetes, if your mom has diabetes, and your father have diabetes, your mom has diabetes, you probably have a 25% chance. If both your parents have diabetes, there's 75% possibility of you developing diabetes. Okay? There's 75%. When we look again at the percentage of people, we've seen a lot of our younger people dying from heart attacks. Some of them don't even know. I've met a young man who had an amputation, did not even know he had diabetes until it got so bad that he lost his leg. So those are the things. Let me go look for this thing early. And then if I do have it, let me work with my diet. Let me make sure I monitor my blood sugar. When I was a medical student, like 500 years ago, and even just come out of medical school, I'm old enough to say 500 years ago, because I was already a physician when the glucose meter came into being. But before that, we used to just get a Clinical tablet, put it to do rapid testing of your blood glucose, right? Put it in a test tube with that urine, and we gauge how high your sugar may be depending on what color the urine turns. If it's yellow, if it's red, if it's green, if it's black. Okay, if it's blue, it's okay, right? But if it's red, yellow, green, we know it's high and high and high. It's black, well, we're not even counting, all right? But today, everybody can own a blood glucose monitor, right? We try as much as possible to make it affordable. There's still people who want to make money from how they serve us, but everybody should be able to monitor their sugar on a regular basis. Everybody should be able to be physically active if you have diabetes. Those are the elements of self-care for diabetics, right? To adhere to your medications if you have medications. Sometimes, my colleagues, we do put our patients on medications first before using other methods. And sometimes a lot of people can have their diabetes managed appropriately, that elevated glucose managed appropriately if they have a good diet, if they're able to maintain their diet, and if they exercise and all the rest and get to the normal route, right? It's not easy. I'm not saying this is not easy, but it's also not impossible. It requires a lot of changed behaviors. Okay, so you have to get to exercise regularly, right? But you also need to have good problem-solving skills. So I get up in the morning and I have a glucose testing machine, and I see my sugar is 210. Do I just put on the machine, bed, and go to work, or do I say, okay, what did I eat last night? Right? What should I have for my breakfast? How am I going to gauge did I take my tablets last night? Or, I went out with my friends. I come home, I was so hot. Did I drink too much alcohol last night? Which is sugar. Let's get that real, right? Did I take my tablets? What happened? When was the last time I took a medication? Oh, I was traveling and I left my medication. I didn't take my medications with me. All of those things. What do I do? How do I make decisions for me? I go and it's a party and they have a lot of alcohol. They have all the bad foods that we like. Now I'm talking about the box. I'm talking about what a friend cooked. We don't like food, a lot of spice, and a lot of fat, and a lot. Okay, we like big portions. That's one of our challenges, right? Do I decide? Do I have to make a decision, right? If I have a problem, can I call my doctor? Should I call my doctor and say, hey, I'm a little concerned that I'm taking my medication or I'm doing all the right things, yet I realize that my sugar has been going up. Those are decision-making skills that we have to develop, okay? I noticed that my foot doesn't look so hot, okay? Or my urine has an odor, or I'm having a fever, I'm having thrush in my mouth, whatever it is, okay, that may come as something else that may be diabetes related. What do I do? How do I manage those things? Okay? Good coping skills. what if if I had a problem in my family, or I'm having challenges at work, whatever it is that can bother me, right? How am I coping with those? Or do I reach out? Do I go seeking counseling? Or do I just allow myself to forget my medication and just let myself go? Okay? And of course, are we using the appropriate behaviors? Are we doing the things we should do to decrease risks? So to start with, if I don't have it, how do I prevent me developing diabetes? How do I remove the risk factors? Remember, if your mother and your father have it, if do I be just consuming alcohol and you don't realize you're diabetic, and you might just be eating alcohol and you don't realize things happen. You see a wound on your foot, you just put a band-aid on that and keep on wearing the tight shoes, all of those things. But we kind of need to know, as people with diabetes, if we're sufficiently informed, because self-care is dependent on you having knowledge and understanding of what you, me, us. I don't want to say you, I'm not pointing at anybody. Those of us who have diabetes, our self-care is very intimately hinged to us knowing, how do I take good care of myself? What is likely to happen if I do not control my diabetes? And we've spoken about this a longer time. Would I lose my vision? Because there are organs that are targets, right? Would I lose my limbs? Would my kidney go into oblivion? Would I get a heart attack? Okay? We talked about vision. And I need to go check the dentist, because we know that bad tooth can be not as good. It's a source of infection, and it makes controlling your diabetes even worse, right? Your heart, your eyes, your brain, your kidneys, and your feet, those are the target organs. Am I going to ask my nurse or my doctor, whoever manages me whenever I get care? First of all, am I going to go see them? Okay, that's one of the things. Following up, getting follow-up care. Am I going to ask them to ensure that I get foot therapy, or I get someone to look at my feet? So I'd send all of my patients who have diabetes to see a foot care specialist. Somebody. There are people in the clinic who can do it in the general clinic, but I send a lot of my patients to see the podiatrist, even if there's nothing wrong visibly as far as I'm concerned. Because I, as a diabetic, will have to learn how to care for my foot, because my foot is always with me. Mm-hmm. And I really want it when I'm going down to Jesus. You understand? I want it when I'm going to trod the heaven road. Yeah, I want my feet. And we've seen too many people lose their limbs simply because they don't realize that's part of their body that they have to care for as well. Mm-hmm. Okay? So those basic kind of, the self-care mechanisms are, monitoring your sugar and so on, monitoring yourself, understanding what you eat, understanding how you relate with your friends, and other problems that you may have. Men may have sexual dysfunction, you might have problems getting an erection. That is one of the things that is telling. And sometimes that is what a man might show up with, right? And be diabetic. So we kind of need to know. Mm-hmm. But even going further than that, every one of us on this island and everywhere, because of the high level of diabetes that exists in our community, and like some of us don't know who our father is anyway, so we don't know if we have diabetes. No, it's a West Indian thing, okay? Some of us, we need to go looking. We need to go screening from before, but we also need to seek knowledge. I keep telling everybody, I was telling some young people the other day, what is it? This thing here? This? We have the world in our hands, and yes, we're doing just TikTok and Facebook and gossip. Anything, almost anything you need to know is in this little thing that we have in our hand. Or if you have an iPad, go there and seek information and knowledge. You want to know how to do your self-care? Just go and type in diabetes self-care and see what the things, and they're very, very simple places, right? If you want information, go to Mayo Clinic. They give it to people who can't even see, who can't even read and write. You can go there. They put diagrams for us to understand. It's graphic, so we can understand how to take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. We should not, in this time, when we have ways of monitoring ourselves, and the world is looking at access to care. I don't think we're short of access. Okay? There's information. There are clinics that give information. There are clinics that you can go and get your diagnosis. places to get follow-up. There's nutrition counseling at Food and Nutrition. There's medications in the pharmacies, because the government has a responsibility to ensure that medications is available for those who can't afford to buy it. That is the responsibility of the health services, to ensure people who have chronic diseases like diabetes have access to medication, right? The road out there to walk in the yard, walk in the pasture, go around the edge of the park, wherever you can go, exercise. I'm not asking anybody to go around like Usain Bolt, okay, or Kirani. I'm just saying, just get active. Do 15, 20 minutes, and it gets better. The more you walk, the more you like it. Go on the beach and walk in the mornings. Go and swim. Go, just get active. Eat less. Play Ring a Rose with your grandchildren. See how much you get to like it. Makes you smile and make you laugh and breathe. Okay, so there are things we can do that are not complicated that can keep us from being ill.
Okay, so Doc, let's take a break, and when we come back, I want to chat a little bit about the risk factors, and then we're going to bring in Ms. Charles again to talk about some portions and how we can control all of that. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sonatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open, Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business.
You can now send a gift card to your loved ones locally or internationally thanks to the food fair. Here's how it works. Click the gift card icon or banner. Customize your gift card by choosing from different templates, dollar amount, and personalized messages. You can also upload your personal design. Select Add to Cart and complete transaction. Allow relatives and friends to pick up an item or items at the food fair for the dollar value. Gift card. It's that easy.
Introducing Color by Seasons. 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 Color by Seasons.
On Sunday, November 14th from 6 p.m. as Megaforce presents the 32nd Waggity Virtual Bingo.
And this time we're playing for
US $10,000. Tickets are only $10 US. Get them now from numerous box offices island-wide in Grenada. Or if you're playing overseas, tickets are only available at gotofed.com. Sunday, November 14th, you can win. Big! Join the fun and excitement online. Play Waggity Virtual Bingo.
Have you heard?
It's the new way to play bingo.
Feed babies well after an emergency or disaster. Infants 6 months and older need clean, safe, complementary foods along with breast milk to meet their nutrient needs. Continue to breastfeed while gradually introducing foods one at a time from various food groups. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council in collaboration with the Ministry of Health with support from the Pan American Health Organization.
Level of convenience and comfort awaits you when you shop at Rise and Shine Supermarket and Hardware Supplies, Griffin Lane, Grenville. Convenient, because we are open Sunday to Sunday. We're even at your service on public holidays. Comfort, because we are easily accessible to the physically challenged. Free Wi-Fi is available while you shop, and bags come at no charge. Everyday low prices and excellent customer care. Adequate parking available. We supply everything you can possibly think of. Family and home supplies, fresh meat, vegetables, and personal care products. All brands of cooking gas at affordable prices. You can send in your order, have it pulled, or pick up express.
We support you at every stage of your life.
For business,
For your education.
For your financial freedom.
For that new ride.
Upgrade your life with the Communal. Contact us today.
Drug abuse.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Doctor in Call, and we have with us this evening Miss Leah Charles from the General Hospital dealing with nutrition, and Dr. Sonia Nixon, of course. I like to consider her as my co-host. She's with me almost every Tuesday evening. Yes, and I do get words from time to time, so don't think it's all nice and dandy. I do get words sometimes. All right, Doc, you mentioned earlier that it is a good idea for people to have a blood sugar monitor so you can check your blood sugar levels and so. Right, so I have one, and what should I look for? What am I supposed to see if I check my blood sugar?
It's done properly.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when some of us are doing our sugars, we tend to rub the surface too hard. Like we're trying to take off the skin. If you do that, your blood sugar might come out a little higher. Okay? So you're not going to get a proper reading. Just to wipe it off gently, let it dry, and then you put up your pressure before the finger so the blood stays down in the tip, and you stick your finger on the side. After you do it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, you get accustomed. Okay, trust me. And you look, there are different monitors, and you put in the sugar at different points according to the monitor. Just follow the orders. It's all graphic right there. Okay, and you can get 2 different sets of reading. One is the metric reading, and the other one is the usual imperial reading, for want of a better word. So you may have sugars that say 125. May I go ahead?
Yeah. Oh, did you hear me or you? Yes, I was asking because we lost you for a moment. I was asking you to go back so we can speak about doing the testing of the blood sugar properly. I wonder. Let's see what's happening here. Are you hearing me now, Doc?
Oh, no, I am.
Right. Okay.
What's the last thing you heard from me?
But you were just about to tell us how to do the test properly.
Oh.
And we lost you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm sorry. Sorry, people. We're really very sorry about this. So take it. Take the alcohol on the cotton. It's ready to take out the bacteria at the point, and wipe gently. Don't rub too hard. Okay. And then you kind of press your finger above where you're going to stick yourself 1 drop. Most of the machines now need 1 little drop, not even a big drop of blood. Okay, a really tiny drop. And a lot of machines will give you a test in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Some in 3, 2, 1 seconds. 3 seconds, and you have a test. Okay, so you may get a reading that says that goes between 1 to 20. And then, or you might get a reading that goes from 40, 60, 80, going up to 120, 200, with bigger numbers. They're just different measurements. It's like measuring measuring a glass full as opposed to measuring a liter full. You got me? Just different measurements. So when do you take your sugar? You can take a sugar when you're in a state of fasting, which means that you would have had something late the night, and between 8, not more than 10 hours, certainly, because if you wait till that, your body will actually think you don't have access to food and starts breaking down the stores. All that you're eating last week, the 3 pound of yam in a meal and all of that, that's stored in your, as fat and glycogen, your body starts breaking it to give you nutrition, okay? So your sugar may go up high and may not be there. So if you're doing a fasting sugar, it has to be within a certain limit. Same if you're going to the lab in the morning. You go to the lab, you have something late in the night, 10, 11 o'clock. Our labs open late. So by 8 o'clock, you should be in the lab getting your sugar done. Other to that, it's going to change. It's going to give you a bad result, okay? An unfair result. I, however, ask my patients in what I call a 2-hour postprandial or 2-hour post-meal. So, like we will sit and work for the most part. You have a meal, a regular meal, and you sit at your computer. You're not going to sit and run after children or going to change your grandmother if you're taking care of her, or running up and down the stairs or working in a restaurant, not that kind of thing. Or like you go home and you're watching TV, you have a meal, and 2 hours after you've completed your meal, right? You have your meal together. You don't pick. You eat a meal, and 2 hours after you've had a meal, you check your sugar. That's called a 2-hour post-meal or 2-hour postprandial. And why is this important? This is important because within those 2 hours, if your body is working well, your sugar should have gone back to normal. Okay? Your sugar, if your insulin, which is that thing that we haven't talked about tonight, but if your insulin system is working well, your pancreas is working and producing good insulin, which is what is necessary for helping you to maintain your blood sugar, then your sugar should go back to normal. If your sugar is high after your 2-hour post sugar, you're kind of in a little trouble. You're not doing well, okay? And that is the sugar that we test when we send our patients to do their A1C, because the surplus of glucose in your blood actually tends to coat the red blood cells. Red blood cells live for 90 to 120 days. If we check the quantity of sugar on your red blood cells and it's elevated, we know that your 2-hour sugars are not doing very well. They're being high. Okay? So that is what we use these days. So you can't, what used to happen before? So Ms. Charles has diabetes. I'm a physician. She comes to me every 3 months to check up, but she been eating, we just had a holiday? Yeah. We had Independence and Labor Day and all the fun times. Everybody go beach, or cousin them come down and spend time because it was her grandmother's 90th birthday, and everybody eat and eat. But she coming to me next week, so she starts starved this week. She comes and her sugar looks good, right? Because I'm just checking the amount of sugar in her serum, in the liquid part of her thing. I'm not checking the extra sugar that is on her blood vessel, on the blood cells. Right? But you can't do that no more because I'm going to send her to the lab to do an A1C, and that's going to tell me all the cheat you've been cheating. Okay? So we have that, and that is not to vindicate people. It's basically to tell people, look, here is where your control is. Because if you do not control your blood sugar, that same sugar that catch onto the red blood cells keeps it from being pliable, to be bendable. It cannot get into the little tissues where you don't have proper circulation. Your eye goes bad because you don't have circulation in the back of your eyes and those little spaces that need blood cells that can move, like when you're making pizza, or in your feet, or in your heart, or in your kidneys, right? Or even in your brain, right? Your circulation can become compromised and you can have strokes and all the complications. That is what self-care is about. Preventing, controlling, making sure you have good quality of life, and preventing complications of your disease. That is what self-care is about. Okay. Those basic 4 components.
Wonderful. So let's bring Ms. Charles back in. Ms. Charles, generally people tend to go for their 3 meals a day. You have your breakfast, lunch, and a little later on you have supper or dinner or whatever it is. In order to control our blood sugar, or to actually prevent diabetes. Let's talk about the types of food that you require, let's say for breakfast, and the portions, and the same for lunch and dinner.
Okay, so we're talking about the portions in preventing and managing, right? So instead of having 3 large meals per day, we normally recommend that you split up your meals. So instead of having 3 large meals, we're going to have smaller portions. So we're going to have breakfast, we're going to have a snack, a light snack, then we're going to have lunch, we're going to have another light snack, and then supper. If you're one of those patients who are insulin, then you may require a bedtime snack, right? So we say you have smaller portions because we realize that the science has shown that the sugar is better controlled when you're having smaller portions than having 3 large meals, right? So for breakfast, we will normally recommend 2 slices of whole wheat toast, right? And then you have some sort of protein. It can be eggs, it can be tuna, it can be saltfish, right? You can use steamed fish or chicken or something like that, right? And then of course you have your vegetables. You don't leave out your vegetables at all. So what we use to compile our meals is we have something that we call a diabetic plate. I wish I could have shown it, but I'm not sure if I can. But we have something that's called a diabetic plate. And it's when you're being counseled at the hospital, it's what we give it to you. We show it to you physically so you can see what we want your plate to look like on a daily basis, right? So at breakfast, lunch, and supper, we ask that most of your plate be vegetables. So even if you're having the 2 slices of bread, you're still supposed to be having vegetables with that at breakfast. A lot of the times when we're having breakfast, vegetables is usually omitted. So we're asking that at every meal, including at supper time, that we have some sort of vegetables with our meal and make vegetables the largest part of your meal at every meal possible. So at breakfast, you have your 2 slices of whole wheat toast. For those persons who don't use bread, because a lot of people say they don't use bread, you can use your provisions at breakfast. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the amount of provisions you use at breakfast. So we can probably use maybe 2 grains of bananas, or if we want variety, we can have 5 small pieces of provisions at breakfast, along with our vegetables and some sort of protein. And then for your mid-morning snack, again, you can have a fruit. There's nothing wrong if you have your fruit, so you can have your fruit there. And then after that, you can probably couple it with some nuts, right? Unsalted nuts. You toast it in the oven and you have that, or you can also have maybe some yogurt, 4 to 6 ounces of yogurt. And that would be plain yogurt, unflavored yogurt, right? Because the added sugars and so it can help to increase the blood sugar. So what I normally recommend is you can actually cut up your fruits and add it to the plain yogurt so you can add flavor to the yogurt, right? That way you're getting natural sweetness from your fruits instead of the additives that you'll be getting from the flavored yogurts. And then you have your lunch. And again, for us in the Caribbean, we tend to overeat at lunch a lot. Our plate is usually very big, and the largest portion of our plate is usually the starchy. So it's either we have a large plate of rice and peas, or we have rice and peas with the macaroni pie, with potato salad, with fried plantain, and then we have in the meat, and then a few slices of tomato or maybe 1 lettuce leaf, and that is it. And then we need to cut that back. So we need to reverse it now. So instead of having the starches as the large part, we're going to have the vegetables as the large part. So you can probably do some coleslaw, you can do some steamed vegetables, maybe some callaloo, and then you put your meats, and then you have your starches. So you try to have the starches as the smallest portion of your plate as opposed to having it as the largest part of your plate. So, and then of course you can always have a glass of juice with that. But when it comes to juice, we prefer if you use local juices. So you have your oranges, we have all different fruits. You squeeze that, you make your juice, and of course it's unsweetened. I know some people query between the sugar and the honey and the molasses, but sugar is sugar across the board. So whether you sweeten it with the honey or you sweeten it with the molasses or you sweeten it with the sugar, sugar is sugar across the board. So no sugar, no honey, no molasses. If you're sweetening your juice, your tea, your porridges, whatever, no sugar, no honey, no molasses, sugar is sugar across the board. And then of course you have your mid-evening snack, right? And then you have supper time, which should be something light. It shouldn't be something too heavy, of course, because you're going to bed. And then if you are someone on insulin, we normally recommend that you have a bedtime snack so that the sugar don't drop too much at night, because you'll be taking the insulin at night. So you require a bedtime snack to keep the sugar steady so that you don't have that drop when you get up in the morning. So that is how we normally recommend that you eat at breakfast, lunch, and supper. So instead of having 3 very large meals, you have a smaller meal at breakfast, a mid-morning snack, I don't want to say a smaller lunch, but a well-portioned lunch that is not too heavy on the starches. And then you have a mid-afternoon snack, and then you have a light supper, and then you go to bed.
Okay, wonderful. Now, for someone who is not diabetic, what would you recommend in terms of, let's say, quantity of sugar that person can use?
None.
For quantities of sugar, wow. No, I would say let's try to come off the sugar. No, why I say that? Because everyone's taste perception of sugar differs.
Right.
What is sweet for me as a non-diabetic may not be sweet for my sister who's also a non-diabetic, right? So we normally, I would say, let's watch the sugar still, right? If we can cut it off, let's cut it off, because even if we're sweetening our juices, we're still getting sugar from everything else, right? So we're getting sugar from our starches, we're getting sugar from our fruits, and when you add it up, it really is a lot, right? So we want to be careful when it comes to sugar.
Okay.
Yes, so I would normally say let's ease off the sugar. One thing I always ask people to cut out is condensed milk. Yeah, because I realize when we're making tea in the morning, we're using the processed, the sweet processed cocoa, and then we're still using that with the condensed milk, and then we're still adding sugar to that. So when it comes
to sugar, Miss Charles, the condensed milk is to make it white, not to sweeten it. The sugar is to sweeten it, but the milk is to make it white.
The evaporated milk can make it fine the same way, right?
All right, I rest my case.
Right, so we come off the condensed milk. Let's leave the condensed milk alone. You can use your full cream milk and your evaporated milk, and that is fine.
Okay.
And of course, you could always add things like your cinnamon, your nutmeg, flavor it up really nice. And let's try to leave the sugar alone, because we're getting it from a lot of other things. And then when we add it up, it really is a lot.
It's a lot. Okay. Also, you mentioned in terms of the portions that the largest portions should be your veggies, and I happen to know what the diabetic plate looks like, so I have a good idea what the portion of vegetables, what it looks like. But in terms of consuming that, so you consume your veggies, you consume your whatever small amount of starch you have and protein in the digestive process. How does it work? Does the vegetables have anything to do with reducing the volume of sugar that enters the bloodstream at a time?
All right. Yes, it does. Because of the fiber content, right, that you get from the vegetables, and so it helps to slow down the rate at which the sugar is, the rate at which the sugar spikes, right? So that's why we normally recommend that if you have to start eating, you normally start with your vegetables first. And then we also recommend having some peas or some beans to increase the fiber content. right? Because fiber tends to slow down the rate at which the sugar sugar spikes in the blood. So that's why we tell you have a lot of vegetables. It's also why we tell you to switch to whole grains, because they tend to have more fiber, right? So the more fiber you have in your diet, the better control your blood sugar tends to be. It helps to contribute a lot to the blood sugar control in the diet. So that's why we tell you to increase your vegetables. So they do sort of help. And then of course, your vegetables actually don't contribute that much to the spike in the sugar, right? There are some vegetables that are sweet, but most of your dark green leafy vegetables and they don't really contribute that much to your spike in your sugar. But we tell you to eat them freely, eat them as much as you can, because they don't really contribute that much to the spike in your sugar. And because of the fiber content, whatever sugar you do eat with it, it helps to control that spike. Mm-hmm. So you eat your vegetables first before you eat your started into the blood.
Okay, very good. So Doc, I'm coming back to you now. We spoke about the blood sugar monitor, but in terms of the reading, what sort of readings would indicate that someone is probably pre-diabetic or diabetic, or hey, you need to go on medication?
Well, we talk about not going on medication because your sugar high. That's not the first way, but that you must consider that your sugar is not being properly controlled. Mm-hmm. Is that what we're saying? So, if you use the one that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like up to 20, and after point you say high. That's the metric system. Mm-hmm. Your normal is between 4.5 and 6.4. Kind of. Okay. Mm-hmm. In some environments they tell you we can go up to 7. We can't do it. We have too many people who have diabetes and for too long, because remember, a lot of people are not checking. So the truth is by the time you discover that someone has elevated blood sugar, they've already had the elevated sugar problem for a very long time. Because if you can if you can investigate closely the damage to the different organs, it may have already begun. Right. And as long as you maintain your blood sugar elevated, as long as your sugar is out of control, you're damaging your organs. Remember, you're clogging up the arteries, you damaging the nerves as long as the sugar is maintained above normal, right? You're having damage to it. The longer it is, the higher it is, the worse it is. Right. In the case of the other ones, some people say, some doctors don't want you to go above 100. Okay. 110. Over 120, definitely not. Okay? That's already out of the ballpark. We don't want your sugar to be that high. So if you have a machine, and you can either go to the Diabetes Association as an office here, you can go to a clinic, you can go to your doctor, take it with you so somebody can guide you. The nurse or the doctor in the clinic can guide you as to what to expect, where to expect your sugar levels to be. Okay? Get accustomed to using it. It's also a tool of empowerment. I like when we are empowered, when we understand what's going on with us, when we take care of it, when we can do decisions for our well-being, right? When we're good at decision making, when you're good at discerning, why is my sugar 6.8 when I'm accustomed to being 5.4? What's going on? You watch it, say, let me look this a couple of days. But a couple of days is not a month. You understand? Mm-hmm. Getting ready to know. Simply because you have this tool that says, hey, Godfrey, no, something is not going well here. Let's find somebody. Let's talk to somebody. Let's deal with it. Let me look back at what I'm eating. Right? Have your machine. The people at the Diabetes Association will definitely teach you how to use your machine. Okay? Some people are afraid to stick themselves. There's some mechanisms where you don't see the stick and where you're not, where you don't get scared. Everybody afraid to joke. That's just normal. That's just normal human behavior. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. Excuse me. But your machine is a great tool to have.
Right. So there are two main types of diabetes, and I'm not talking about gestational, because that's along the lines of pregnancy. But type 1, type 2. Let's talk a little bit about that quickly.
So type 1 diabetics, I want to come, because we don't call people diabetics and ethics, whatever it is. A person with type 1 diabetes is often a younger person, a child who has that form of diabetes where their pancreas, which is the organ that produces insulin, and I can tell you, insulin is a chemical that helps you to regulate your blood sugar. You get some food, you eat a plate of what you eat in the morning? 2 slices of toast, a boiled egg, a tap of butter, and you drink a cup of Milo without sugar, without the white milk, the whitening milk. And your body says, hey, Godfrey just had a meal. That's what it says to your brain. Your brain acts on your pancreas. Your pancreas produces insulin, which comes from some cells in the organ, in the pancreas, right? Poof. Insulin goes in, and insulin takes that sugar out of your blood vessels, the arteries of your blood vessels, and transports it into the muscles where it is needed. That is why people with diabetes feel so tired, because the absence of insulin makes you, I don't have any energy, because the sugar is not going where it's supposed to be going, right? Or you can't think, you're drowsy, you just really can't focus, all right? All that your body needs energy for is not there. You eat, which is other symptom, right? That you're hungry, and because you have all this sugar in your urine, when it goes through the kidney, remember the kidney is still functioning well at the beginning. When it goes through the kidney, because of the high amount of glucose, the glucose passes out, but it pulls water behind it, okay? And if you're passing a lot of urine, you're gonna get thirsty. So those are the symptoms, all right? When somebody recognizes these symptoms, we kind of need to act on it, but we don't want to get to that point. We want to get to a point where we understand, maybe I'm not doing well enough here, or maybe I should do other things like eat properly from a teenager. I listened to Ms. Charles talk about nutrition, and one of the things you have to remember, that families need to eat the same way. So there's no diabetes food and regular food. All food should be prepared healthily.
All food should be diabetes food.
No, all food should be preventing diabetes. All food should be preventing diabetes, especially in families where you already have that kind of genetic link up, right? And if you go in for nutrition counseling, you probably don't cook. You don't need no nutrition. You need nutrition counseling, but you don't prepare the meals. So the person who cooks the food needs to be there. So there's no time nutrition counseling should be one person unless you live alone. You understand? So the juvenile diabetics are the children. They don't have no pancreas. So they lack insulin. Or their pancreas have such little amount of cells that they develop, their sugars are always high. They need insulin. They always need insulin. It is a lot more difficult. They need a lot of support nutritionally, a lot of support emotionally, and that's one of the things we need to talk about. Diabetics, people with diabetes are very prone to having depression. And even if we don't do it here, there's, like in the UK, for example, they have ongoing studies with diabetic populations, right? To check and see how they manage emotionally, because people with diabetes are very prone to developing depression, right? The type 2 diabetes is what you see, what we call adult onset diabetes. We've had a pancreas that has been not working normal, but because you eat so much, drink so much Milo with white milk, you kind of burn out the cells, and eat too much calabash full of oil down every day, and drink a lot of rum, and all the things that requires that your body produces insulin. So you cannot overwork the insulin factory, and one day just really can't go any further. That is type 2 diabetes, and that's what we're seeing. And I'll tell you what is unfortunate. when I was a child a lot of years ago, we used to see diabetes more in people over 40 and 50. Now we see in children, we see in adolescents with adult onset diabetes. Children who have diabetes as their grandmother would have had. Guess what it means? That they will have complications earlier. They will cost more on the system to help to take care of them. They'll be less productive because they're going to be sick earlier. They're going to develop kidney problems. Because within 30 years of having had diabetes, you have your kidneys can go completely. Not so if you're controlling your diabetes. Because I know people who have diabetes for much longer than that, who still have diabetes. They know they have diabetes, but do everything so that they can control their sugar and their kidneys work fine. So, unfortunately for us, we've seen younger people, up to teenagers, who come to us who have diabetes, but who didn't have diabetes as little children. Right? What they have is adult onset diabetes, and that's not good because it causes with all the other complications you can have.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful indeed. Doc, let's take our final commercial break, a short one, and we come back with open telephone lines, and then we chat a bit more about some of the associated complications that we can get from, having diabetes. So we're back with you in just a moment, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes.
And Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sonatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business.
What does it take to be an amazing woman? Lots of me time. Amazing women are classy, fancy, and a little sassy. It's the drink for me. Cheers! Sometimes you've got to show them who's boss. Alpha male? Nah, alpha females are more amazing. Cheers to securing the bag. We make time for ourselves, for work, friends, and we certainly make time for passion. We're simply amazing. Amazing cream liqueur for the amazing woman in you.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
My granddaughter.
This is a message from the Ministry of Health. If you or a family member suspect that you may have contracted COVID-19 and are displaying symptoms, please immediately self-isolate at home. This means that you must also avoid all contact with other members of your household. Do not visit hospitals or health centers, as this creates the potential for further spread of the virus, and it puts additional persons at risk when you come into contact with them. Your best course of action is to call the COVID-19 hotline at 458-4787 or 538-4787, or contact your nearest health center or medical station. Once your information has been received, health officials will come to you. Help prevent the spread of COVID-19. This has been a message from the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back, folks. Doctor on call, and our telephone line is open. Our number 435-2041. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask either Ms. Charles or Dr. Nixon, you can do so now. The number again, 435-2041. Dr. Nixon, with diabetes can come some associated complications in the body. Let's talk about a couple of them, maybe the more serious ones.
So most of the complications we experience are because of challenges to our circulation. When we talk about those red blood cells getting coated, they can't move, they can't go into little spaces. Red blood cells carry oxygen. Oxygen is necessary for tissues to live, for their viability, for them to maintain their function. If your red blood cells cannot get to your body, to your foot, your toe is going to die. We've seen gangrenous foot, dry up and go. If the blood cells cannot get to the lining of your back on your retina, where the light reflects, is where a lot of the things that have to do with our vision happen, then your vision is going to go, because what you have the little veins, the little blood vessels clogging up, because the cells, now that they're so high, they clump up on each other, right? They don't move into the tissue and drop the oxygen and go on. They just clump up because they hardened. One. If you block a little drain, doesn't it find other places to run? So what you find is that you have what we call exudates, like fluid, literally fluid. If you take if you have coconut milk, right? And after you put it in a cloth and you strain it. Right, there's a point where it will probably come. If it's in a sieve, it's one thing. You just drain it because it's supposed to go that way. If it's in a cloth, it wants to come out still, so it goes in all different places. It doesn't go in one place. That's how it happens, because the normal path for it to come out is blocked. It's blocked, so right? It's through every way. So you have all these exudates. Some of the blood vessels get very dilated because they're trying to accommodate all these clumps of blood cells in the back of your eye, and damages the retina, and you just lose your vision, right? Sometimes the retina becomes totally detached from the back of the eye, right? So the eye is one of, a lot of our people who have visual problems have problems as a result of diabetes. And so it is important that when everyone is diagnosed with diabetes, that you go to the eye doctor. Not the people who sell glasses, and I'm, with all due respect to companies like Courts and the Eye Center, or wherever you go, you need to go to where there's an ophthalmologist, a person who is trained to have your eye examined, so that they can look down into your retina every year. You should go. We should have facilities, and hopefully in the very, very near future, where you get what you call a retinal scan. It's a digital thing where they take a picture of your retina and they mark it, and it gets evaluated, and you see what the progress is annually. If your sugar is under control, you should not have any negative progress in the conditions of your retina. If your sugar is not being managed properly, you will definitely see. But it still gives us a chance to hold back, because we can intervene, whether it is surgically or otherwise, right? But that is something that's going to come with greater development in our healthcare system, which is absolutely necessary since we have so many people who have diabetes.
Okay.
So your vision is one. Having heart attacks, again, the same clumping of thing, plus of the cells. Plus, we have most people who have diabetes will find that their cholesterol, and maybe she doesn't know, your cholesterol becomes elevated. That's just how it works. Okay? So you have to, that's why she asked you to contain the amount of pork that you eat. You don't have to eat a whole hog. Right? And usually stick to lean meat. And we like fat. We like all the artificial fats. We like our food. Fat makes food taste nice enough, but it's not necessarily that good for us, okay? So clogging up your arteries in your heart can make you have heart attacks. A heart attack is caused when what the amount of blood the heart needs to pump doesn't get into it because they're clogged, they're blockages in the heart, okay? That's your heart. Your brain, similarly, you have different parts of your brain that gets clogged, so you have strokes. We talk about the circulation in your foot, right? And of course the kidneys. All of this because we have circulatory challenges caused by the damage to the blood vessels and to the blood cells clogging together to provide little points where the tissue in the organs actually die, so they can't function as well. So those are the things. Kidney failure, blindness, heart attacks, strokes, and loss of limb.
Okay, wonderful indeed. Okay, so Doc, we're getting close to wrap up time. We have a caller on the line. Let's go to the telephone. Doctor and call, good evening.
Yes, I'd like to answer questions to the doctor on call.
Sure, go ahead, please, caller.
All right. I would like to ask Dr.
Caller, just a second. Can you turn the volume of your radio or your TV down and listen to us on your telephone?
Yes, I turn it off.
Okay, good.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
I would like to ask Dr. Nixon, why is there a fear of insulin use when the sugars are high and patients already on maximum dose of oral medications?
And that's an excellent question, and I think it's probably a Caribbean cultural thing, because insulin if you lack insulin will be the best thing to put it back, right? And on top of it, in our adult population that have adult onset diabetes, it is, if you use insulin as a form of therapy, you actually give your pancreas a chance to rest, and sometimes there can be some regeneration of the cells. You know, they can take a rest, and because we've been kind of beating them before, right? I think the population, unfortunately, culturally, does not accept needles. People also believe that if you take an insulin, Lord, I go dead now. That's the end of it. No, they think it's because you're really, 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 really bad that you have to take insulin. The truth is that not everybody actually responds appropriately, and sometimes you have to take a lot of oral medications. And by simply taking insulin, you can actually solve your problem. Okay? Insulin, and there are just so many different kinds of insulin. It's so much more convenient. It's not like before. And with appropriate education and learning appropriate techniques, again, from your nurse or by going to the Diabetes Association, people will find, because people who get on insulin and get accustomed to managing their diabetes through insulin tend not to go back, because it becomes easier, they get accustomed, and they learn how to monitor their sugar in and between. So it's something that we are going to have to grow into as a population because of its potential to save complications and preserve life. But not only that, to give you a certain level of independence and improve the quality of life, because you now have controlled diabetes. So thank you for that. I'm sure there are other little things. People say all kind of things, but we think when you take an insulin, it's like, oh Lord, I would dead, no, have bad. It's not necessarily so.
Okay, thank you very much. 435-2041. That's the number you can call if you have any questions. Let's go back to the telephone. Doctor and call, good evening.
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good evening.
And good night, doctor.
Hi.
I want to ask two questions. The first one is, there is something you call, I think it's sweet, I call that. The diabetic people use that in sweetening the tea and so.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said.
Hello?
I didn't understand what you just said, sir. I'm sorry.
Something in a little packet. They call it sweeter. I think it's sweeter.
Oh, sweetener.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this wholesome for people with diabetes to take? Because I understand some people say that this thing giving cancer. That's
Very
one
good
question. That's one question.
Ask the next question, and then we'll answer the question. Both myself and Ms. Charles, we both answer this question.
Next question. The sweetness you get from cinnamon, is that sugar? You know, if you buy the cinnamon, the spice, you buy plenty of that, you get it really sweet. Is that sugar? That sweetness? That's my two questions.
Yeah. Thank you, caller. We'll try and
good questions, sir. Very, very, very applicable questions to most of our Miss Charles, I'll make you go on this one, okay? Go.
Okay. To both of them or first one?
Go to both of them.
Okay. I'm guessing he's talking about the artificial sweeteners like stevia and so forth. Right. Some of those sugars are made with aspartame. Right. Doc, maybe you can give some more information on what aspartame is. But the issue that we have with those type of sweeteners is that they're artificial sweeteners, right? But they tend to be really sweet. So sometimes one little sachet can sweeten an entire cup of tea. Now, when you do not have that sweetener, so you don't have access to it and you cannot purchase it again, and you have to go back to the non-sweetened tea, that is where the issue lies. Because now you're saying you got so used to that alternative sweetener, and if you can no longer afford it, then it puts something on the taste perception, basically. So now, what you find yourself doing, you find yourself saying, you know what, I'm going to brackish the tea. And then you're still not getting the flavor because you got so used to the sweetness from the stevia and so forth. Right. And then you add 1 spoon, you add 2 spoons, you add 3 spoons, and the high sweetness in the stevias and so forth, it tends to be really, really sweeter, have a sweeter taste than our natural sugars. So we normally recommend that you try to avoid those, right? And then again, there's the issue of some of them being made with aspartame, right? I'm going to let Dr. Continue on the aspartame aspect, right? And I think the second one he was asking about was the cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, it is not sugar, right? Now, cinnamon is made from a tree bark. That's a tree that you have to scrape the cinnamon, and I think you put it to dry and so forth. There are research that shows that cinnamon can actually help to reduce the blood sugar.
Control. Mm-hmm.
Right. It helps to control the blood sugar better. So if you're having your cinnamon tea or your spice tea and you get that natural sweetness out of it, it's okay, right? It does not contribute to the spike of your sugar. Research has actually shown that cinnamon helps with blood sugar control.
Okay.
Okay, so the aspartame and some of the artificial sweeteners, they do not satisfy your need for sweet. That is one of the fundamental things. So as much as you take them, people say might as well eat something with a little bit of ordinary, regular, natural sweet. So if you really feel like eating something sweet, eat a little piece of cake or a little piece of something. I'm not saying the whole cake, but little chinks. A little chinks of fruit. And you'll find that your sweet need is satisfied better because it does not give you, because sometimes it's because your blood sugar is low. And of course, the fact that if you take it, it makes the sugar taste is so high, it's almost like an addiction. You can't reach that kind of sweet taste with thing. And you talk about tea, you talk about 1 teacup of sugar of tea, you can put in a gallon of drink and you still taste the sweet, right? Yeah. So it is known, and the gentleman made a very good point, some of those artificial sweeteners, I think stevia is allowed because it comes from the
plant. Yes, a plant. Yeah.
Right. Right. But some of the others like Sweet and Low and all of those that have those chemically engineered ones have been proven to help to cause cancer. So the truth is, it is actually not so hard to get off sugar. If you're accustomed to using a lot of sugar, start cutting it down little by little by little by little, and then there's going to come a point where everything is going to be too sweet and you will never drink a diet soda. You never use those artificial sweeteners because it tastes bad. It makes you feel sick, right? So I'm glad you brought up those things because those are two of the challenges. And of course, cinnamon, you're right. Cinnamon does actually help and it's been proven. There's actually a research project that was done here in relation to cinnamon and diabetes control. And cinnamon in a pill form, in capsule form, ground cinnamon with chromium and something else, and in helping to control blood sugar. And cinnamon has been proven to help to regulate blood sugar. So you can have a cup of cinnamon tea in the morning, and I don't have to worry. I don't need to make it white.
All right, thank you very much indeed. But Doc, we're just about time to wrap up. Let me give both yourself and Ms. Charles a minute just to sort of summarize the discussion, and maybe we can just touch a bit on COVID-19 as we wrap for this evening. So we start with Ms. Charles. Yes.
Age before beauty. Youth. Go.
Okay, so just to wrap up, I remember I was doing a presentation once, and I was actually showing the persons how to do the food labels, how to read the food labels, because yes, we're eating healthy and so forth, but understanding your food labels also help in making healthier choices, especially as a diabetic and as a hypertensive. Knowing and understanding your food label helps, and understanding things like serving sizes, and so they tend to help as well. I remember I showed them, one of them had a can of energy drink, and it had 78 grams of sugar in there, and I was telling them it's 78 grams of sugar, right? And it's 26 grams per serving, and we know that for men, I think it's about 35 grams that they need per day. So I said, in this one drink alone, you already substituted the amount of sugar that you are allowed for the day in that one can of energy drink, right? Which is why we recommend cutting off some of the sugar a lot, because we're getting them in different places. If we're drinking sodas, if we're drinking energy drinks, if we're alcohol especially, right? We're getting them in other sources. So if we're still sweetening the tea and we're still using the milk to make the stuff white and all of this, it adds up. And over the years, it puts a strain. It puts a strain on the pancreas and so forth, and that's how we develop diabetes. Diabetes is not something that just happens to us overnight, right? It's something that it's habitual. It's something that we started for a long time, and it's just catch up to us. So my recommendation is to start with the children. Start them off with eating fruits and vegetables at a young age. Instead of giving them the sweet juices and so forth, make the juices yourself. Let them get used to the taste of vegetables so they wouldn't crave the sweet too much later on. It starts from there. It starts from there to prevent diabetes later on. We're already at a stage where the health system is overwhelmed when it comes to diabetes. A lot of the cases that we're seeing now are diabetics, and then we have cases where persons are not taking care of themselves and their diabetes is going on further to CKD. So please, let's start with the preventive care that we do not have to get there, right? Eat your vegetables, eat your fruits. Try to have nutritious meals daily. Be careful of your drinks and so forth. Keep your immune system boosted by getting your vegetables and your fruits daily. Of course, ensure you have a nice balanced diet. Half your plate with your vegetables, and then your meats, and then your smallest part of your plate being your carbohydrates and your starches and so forth.
Okay,
of course, enjoy your food.
Thank you very much, Ms. Charles. It was really a pleasure having you on the program. And as I say to everyone, once you come on, you will be back. So I'll be calling you again sometime soon. Dr. Nixon?
Yes, sir. So before I forget, one of the things I want to remind us that this is Diabetes Awareness Month, just to remind us to do the things that we're supposed to do, to look for support, to look for information. Best friend, everything is in here. If you don't understand, ask somebody. But the information is in your handheld device if you have the internet, and almost everybody does. Or ask. There's the Diabetes Association. There's a Grenville branch. There's St. George's branch, and I think Soteas has a group of Diabetes Association, and there's a St. George's group apart from the National Diabetes Association. On the 17th of November, there will be a health fair down at Kirani James Boulevard at the GARP Center, and we'll be doing screening. Of course, everybody's talking about coronavirus, so we too. And there's opportunity for vaccine. And our diabetics really, if you controlled, you really should try and get your vaccines, because we know that you're up in line for becoming severely ill or for dying, and that's not what we want to do. So that's just one side. You know, diabetes is real. In India, and growing, in India, where there are 32 million persons with diabetes. Yes, India have 1.6 billion, but 32 million people in a country that is not wealthy. So lower and middle income countries are the ones like ours. We are considered middle income, right? Although we have so many other poor people, right? Lower and middle income countries are mostly affected by diabetes. In India, by 2030, they're going to move up from 32 million people to 79 million people with diabetes. Okay? If they do not control it, that is the progression. And I guess we can say ours will probably increase by 100%. About 13% of our population, give or take, probably 17, right? We will probably go up to 30% by 2030 if we're not taking care of ourselves. That's the bottom line. Okay, that's a projection for the Caribbean and Latin America. By 2030, we're really going to be in a bad way. With our food and nutrition, the food challenges, food security challenges, unless we fix that, grow something in your backyard, move the car, park it by the side of the road, and take a little piece of land and build and plant something. Plant something, plant anything green, eat. Okay, plant food. We can do that. We used to do that before, right? Self-care basically is about being at the center of your care. Nobody's going to come and do this for you, right? You are the center of it, and everybody who's helping to manage, whether it's a nutritionist, whether it's Godfrey talking on the program, whether it's myself as a physician, whether it's a foot care person, the eye doctor, everybody works with you, but you have to be patient-centered. You may want insulin and not want tablets. You may want tablets and not want insulin, but you're going to help to run this, right? You are centered among this. You speak to your chronic disease management person. You speak to your nurse in your clinic. Those are the support systems that you have. Your doctor, your podiatrist, whoever it is. You have to use your support system in order to ensure that you apply actions and you make decisions. Each individual, whether you're diabetic or not, make decisions that will ensure your a certain quality of life, that will ensure that you prevent diabetes, and that if you actually do have diabetes, that you can control it. Okay? It is important that we have improved, better, fabulous ways of life. We've just been locked down for 18 months. We don't want to go back there, okay? We want to go there and be able to walk and do the things that are important to us, okay? COVID is here, and it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge to access to education. So we thought, we have our phones, access to just going to get somebody to talk to going to your nurse. We have to be very careful, because already there's some places where there's access to medication because of lockdown of factories in India and stuff. We have to make sure that we do the other things that will complement and make us less reliant, less dependent on medications, so your lifestyle. And it must be a family activity. All of us are working together to control or to prevent diabetes in this household. Look at it like that. So you're not cooking one diabetic pot and the rest of pot that make the person with diabetes jealous. We're all going to eat together. We're all going to stay well. The truth is we've had a lot of challenges because of COVID. A lot of our health funding has had to go into this big, unexpected, unprecedented. We could never figure out that coronavirus would have done what it did to our healthcare system. Everyone is going to have to take control of ourselves, and we are going to have to do whatever is important to prevent getting worse. Mm-hmm. But we know that we're all going to stay well, because if Corona do like a hurricane and turn back, we're going to be ready for it, because we're going to be under control. And Miss Charles, it was a pleasure working with you tonight. Thank you very much for being here and making me feel young again.
All right. Thank you again, Dr. Nixon, and thank you, Miss Charles. It was indeed a pleasure. I also want to extend special thanks to Miss Davis, who've been helping in sourcing the guests for the program for this month. Thank you very much. Thanks to our callers. Thanks to all of you who tuned into our program. We look forward to having you next Tuesday for another Doctor and Call. Until then, to have a good night. All the best.
Cancer.
Measles. Diabetes. AIDS. Cancer.